and welcome to TravelpreneurWorld. When we started this Dreamers and Doers, our aim was to bring in the leaders and entrepreneurs from travel industry so that you can learn from their experiences. One such conversation I'm going to have is with Mr. Gaurav Luthra, who's been in the travel industry for 30 years and especially in the corporate travel industry. So he is going to share his experiences, future of corporate travel industry, so that you can learn from that. I'm going to have a very interesting conversation with him. So stay till the end because few questions can help you decide what you want to do with the corporate travel industry. Gaurav sir, welcome to this virtual podcast with us.
Thank you, Sundar. Thank you very much for having me on this platform. I think it's likewise, it's an honor for me to have this conversation. Offline, like I was sharing with you, I'm excited to have this conversation.
I'll probably begin with straight away, with one question, sir. You have seen corporate travel evolve across
Mhm.
decades, from paper tickets to the manual coordination to now the app-based travel ecosystem. How has this transformation shaped your outlook as a people and a leader?
I think it's a great question to begin with. The transformation of travel industry itself, over the last 20 years, we've seen a rapid movement, especially for senior leaders, and then most of the work would happen over the phone. Chances of errors were pretty high. I think progressively, things have moved very, very rapidly for
Yeah.
good. How technology has kind of literally enabled any and everything that we do, not just in our workplace, but in our even in our homes or even in our everyday, life that we go through. It has simplified things in the workplaces, but it also has kind of created more bandwidth, I would say, for organizations to kind of leverage, technology and have more broad-basing growth opportunities.
Yeah, and connected to that, I'm sure early days of your career. What did travel mean to a professional? We've seen millennial before. In terms of workforce, was it seen as a privilege, a responsibility, or a hassle? So what did it mean to a professional people who were in the corporate travel? Was it like something for one coordination you would need a planning? And I keep on telling the generation now also that the convenience has created this. I would not say lethargic, but a borderline convenience to the lot of people.
Look, as a leader, you would always communicate that it has always been a responsibility.
Hmm.
Yeah. Privilege, and a privilege. Privilege is more personal. Yeah, but in terms of your leadership attribute, you will always feel more responsible. I started very early my career.
Yeah.
Yeah, only 28, 29 years in the industry, but
Yeah.
I've seen vast level of changes happening. Well, one thing remains constant: curiosity of the newcomers, the people who,
Hmm.
the new joiners and the newcomers who come in this business are were very curious. I was in my second year of college. I started working very early,
Okay.
very, very curious. And so that remains constant across the 30 years and possibly I will wish that it should remain constant. In the leadership attributes, I think there's no school that teaches you how to be a good leader.
Yeah.
That comes to you naturally, that comes to you by your experience, by your dealing with individuals, by your dealing with people, and also by looking up to your mentors and your own leaders that you've seen in the past.
Correct. And when I touched upon the generation, like the millennials or Gen Z, and at a leadership quality also, you've handled all three generation of employees also. Like you've been a leader who've seen all across all the three generation. So how do you expect the expectation between these two worlds? Like because from a technology point of view, you had manpower resources who had not that kind of a technical support. Now with the generation who has everything at a disposal, right from the chat gpts and all the AI companions, so how do you manage the expectation between the two worlds?
There was more patience in doing what we were doing what we were. I mean, there were days of
Yeah.
frustration as well.
True.
That goes without saying. But with more tools, with more technology coming in, that patience over the years have faded. Yeah, the new workforce, I would see is is in hurry to move
Mm.
forward and take on
Okay.
more conversations, more transactions, etc. Productivity increase with the resilience to adapt, to something going. End of the day, we are humans. We are using technology to the benefit of ourselves and our customers, and
True.
designing something for our individuals,
Mm.
which we aspire to make sure that okay, it should go flawless. But
Yeah.
things can go wrong. Anything can go wrong. Travel is very, very complex, and it involves, from the start to the end of any individual's journey. It involves so many multiple parties, to
Mm.
come into the whole life cycle, that anything
True.
anywhere can drop.
Can
You
drop.
should have that. You should carry that patience and mindset to be able to solve those. Look forward, preempt. Firstly,
Yeah.
preempt and avoid those challenges. And in case there are those challenges, then you should possibly, have the resilience to fold up your sleeves and get into thick and thin to solve.
And coming, coming to the wrong or the challenges which you have faced, what was that looking back? What was your biggest challenge in that paper ticket era? Because I've seen you, I've seen you going through this. So if you can just approvals, coordinations, or whatever you name it, it was a era to learn also, right? So what was your biggest challenge you feel?
I would say three challenges. One was people.
Okay.
So, getting people to the desired level of skill, in the early
Hmm.
days was much more challenging,
Yeah.
and you would obviously have to have more people to so that they get more exposure, they get more experience, and they become more skilled. And
Hmm.
if they become more skilled, you kind of position them into doing, handling more, more senior, associates that you deal with, who, where you can't afford to make errors, or you can't afford to
Yeah.
make, you need to have 100% kind of accuracy. So that
Hmm.
was one challenge. I would say second was the scale. With this, the whole scale to growth was much more slower,
Hmm.
and more time intensive, and more physical brick and mortar intensive. We wanted to be closer to our customers. We had to open 20, 25 offices all across the country, be close to
Yeah.
your customers,
True.
create that network, have people, legwork people running around delivering physical paper tickets, delivering foreign exchange, delivering your calling cards, basically anything that you have to do, from picking up your passport, delivering it to the embassy. I mean, it involved massive groundwork,
Yeah.
kind of logistical planning.
Hmm.
So, that was slowing down the scale for growth. And the third challenge, I would say, in the early days was how the customer looked at travel companies. Most
Hmm.
customers looked at travel agencies and travel companies, and their own travel rather, as an
Yeah.
expense. I would say, for the lack of better word, as a menial job.
Hmm.
People would look at travel not as a very efficient,
Efficient.
business, and you wouldn't get that equality status. Okay, we both of us are
Hmm.
in business. You're
Hmm.
running your business, I'm running my business. It is end
Yeah.
of the day.
Correct.
Yeah. So by virtue of being a travel agent, you were always like, okay, whatever I'm saying, whatever the customer is saying is always right. Well,
Hmm.
that holds true even today. The customer is always right, but there is a voice of, like any professional, like a doctor or a lawyer. I
Hmm.
would consider travel professionals to be equal professionals. End of the day, we are bringing our mastery, we are bringing our knowledge and efficiency
True.
in solving a problem for you. Which was not seen as a problem solving in the early days.
And coming back to the client side, because there was a sudden online OTAs, the online approval system came in. So what kind of efficiencies or mindset came in when an online portal came into the corporates? Do you think this shift empowerment confused the HR admins because they were used to so much of giving everything to the in a platter, by and manpower. Suddenly they were told to approve this, approve that, everything will come in the system, emails. What was that mindset? Because I'm sure you went across India in your capacity to make sure to convince, so that your manpower efficiency grows.
Great question. I think one, 7 out of 10 conversations, one thing that came out predominantly, actually 1.5 thing that came out predominantly was one, people did not understand technology in the early
Okay.
days. Yeah.
Hmm.
They wouldn't just believe that it is possible for somebody, some company to automate and do these things, especially Indian companies, and you're
Hmm.
representing Indian companies. Yeah.
Okay.
They wouldn't expect the Indian companies to be progressive and that efficient.
Hmm.
And the other half thing, or maybe the second thing, that came out of 7 or 8 out of 10 conversation, that would scare the travel managers or the HR leaders or the admin leaders,
Hmm.
and would make them think and believe that doing something like that would kind of take away their control, their
Hmm.
influence or their power from within their own organization, and make them
Correct.
feel, or make them kind of present redundant, to their own organization.
Yeah, it was convenience. It was convenience.
It
It's
was
a
convenience, but I think what people didn't realize, that a little empathy towards those people
yeah,
wouldn't harm. You would, but we saw that thing also change over a period at
yeah,
times.
correct. But sir, I have always told you, and I have always seen you as a people's person, because whether it is a client or an employee, you've always believed that your business grows based on how you treat people, right?
Yes.
And one thing which probably we had discussed before also, that although the corporate is the client of yours, ultimately it's an employee of the corporate experience which matters, which will get your business to grow, because ultimately when they travel with you, when you book a ticket for them or a hotel for them, when they go for an official trip, although they're going on an official trip, but their experience matters, because I think that feedback gets a company to grow into multifold, right? So how does that mean today, with technology being empowering? As I told, a person who expanded the implants, trained the manpower at the implant to serve people, and I'm sure 24 into 7 I've seen people picking up the call at 2:30 also, when when their clients are traveling. Now with the technology, of course, everything is given to you at the platter, at WhatsApp, automation. You don't have to call anybody, and neither the company has a that kind of a setup or a resource for a human. But a country like in India, do you think the employee experience still matters?
Uh, of course, I think it does matter. In hindsight,
Yeah.
when people used to say, "Will you be able to deliver good service?"
Mm.
Well, the answer for every aspiring businessman is yes, of course, we will deliver great service. In the early days, most or rather many travel companies, especially the smaller travel companies and individual entrepreneurs, your only marketing was the employee experience and the
True.
employee word of mouth. So if you have a happy experience employee, if you have a happy company that has most of their travelers have as happy employees, they would possibly go and tell their friends, their families, or co-workers who have left and joined some other. So by virtue of your experience, you would then kind of promote knowingly.
Mm.
That's the way. That was the kind of subtle marketing. And every time I have had conversations with my colleagues and people who have worked with, who I have worked very closely, my thing to them has always been, can you put yourself in a traveler's position? Traveling for work or traveling, even for traveling for pleasure,
Mm.
can be very cumbersome. Can you, as a travel planner, get into the customer's shoes and
Mm.
plan the customer's travel in such a way that you preempt what the customer will go through and provide for that solution in the beginning? Of course, you're a human being. You can't think of 100 situations, but you can always think of, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And chances of you having a happy customer will always be there. Yeah,
Get
but it just doesn't end there. It just doesn't end there because you have to close the loop.
Mm.
Unless you go back to that customer, after the trip, you don't close your loop. You go back to the customer and ask, how was your trip? Did
Yeah.
everything go right?
Mm.
Yeah, or is there any learning? Is there a feedback that you want to give me? Now, you would only ask feedback if you're inquisitive to learn more
Mm.
and improve more. I mean, these are traits basically. These are
True.
traits that position for yourself and your employees. Very small things, but very, very, very impactful, very meaningful. With technology, without technology, hybrid, full technology, 100% hands-on, 100% hands-off. What matters is how was the customer's trip.
Hmm. True. Very true. Sir, and also you've seen so many admin and HR leaders all through your journey being corporate leader. Do you think that HR leaders use travel? And I'm talking about travel not only for the official purpose, but also as an incentive or as something which is given as because anybody who travels at a personal capacity also gets happy if it's specially rewarded from a company.
Okay, let's go back and reflect a little bit. In the
Yeah.
early days, travel used to be very mundane. Yeah, you go
Mm.
for business travel, come back. Most controllers, let's not just isolate HR or admin. Let's say
Yeah.
most business controllers would
Yeah.
be extremely cost conscious, and
Mm.
there's nothing wrong in that.
Yeah.
But while you are cost conscious, most companies have also learned how to be employee experience conscious
Mm.
today because your happy employee equates to better business growth and can mean many other things, and most companies have realized that today. Most companies, responsible leaders and HR leaders have today come to a point, that's why we see a lot of great place to work and
Mm.
etc, all of those kind of announcements, and LinkedIn is kind of full of those. So which has also over a period of time we have seen has led to most companies organizing incentive trips, organizing as a way of reward and recognition, giving away, travel. This thing. A lot of companies come back to us and say, don't give us discount, but let's say whatever discount we negotiate as a this thing, you keep that aside as a
Mm.
pool of cash,
Mm.
and we will use that to reward our employees
Ah.
as and when we find it deemed fit, to either give them upgrades, while they are traveling, or allow their better halves or spouses to travel along, or allow them, if you're going for a longer duration to a particular destination, maybe we give them an upgrade into a room, let them stay in a better
Mm.
room,
Mm.
or whatever gives them more comfort, or give
Correct.
them some sort of a free foreign exchange per diem allowance or something, for them
Mm.
to look out to make themselves more comfortable
True.
in a new environment. So many of those schemes we've seen over a period of time kind of foster.
Okay. So coming back to this set of big chunk of companies which are comes under the MSME categories, small but a good company has a turnover of around 10 to 50 crores. Their owner travels, their top shot 5 6 people travel, in their individual capacity, right? So there is a huge volume of people, and I see a huge gap also in tapping those business. A lot of companies either go for the big corporates with multiple offices, and either the current the MSME companies don't have that leverage of negotiation, I feel. But if they pull up and kind of come across as a one unit, then there's a huge scope. So what do you think as a MSME owner, if they are listening, then what would you advise them to do to consolidate or to get benefits of a travel as against the big corporates who are getting?
I would say in the early days, MSME travelers or MSME company owners did not look at travel as a program. They looked at
Hmm.
travel largely as an expense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one is, if you can adapt to a changing mindset, that travel could be a program. And when you look
Hmm.
at travel as a program,
Yeah.
first thing comes to your mind is to take travel as enabler.
Okay.
So this will add to your traveling, number of trips maybe more,
Hmm.
but your return on investment on this travel could also be equally more.
Correct.
For example, a small businessman goes across the world, starts to attend multiple trade fairs, etc.
Hmm.
As opposed to original. So today you have options. You can deal with travel companies who can very well plan your travel for the rest of the year very well in advance and give you a
Hmm.
better value.
Correct.
Could be a little more expense for you, but gives you a better value, but also help you broad base. Also help
Hmm.
look at it like a program. Yeah, don't just look at it like a air ticket. You bought an air ticket and you're traveling. Could also mean a learning trip or an incentive trip to your employees as well, who are possibly maybe traveling with you. Yeah,
Yes.
so I can go on and on with more and more ideas, but I think the big message here is look at this as a program and not just as an expense.
Correct. And so as technology continues, like we are having a technology of virtual travel days and everything is app based. What do you think is the next big shift in the corporate travel in 2025?
I think the next big shift is going to be in your palm. I am seeing very aggressively especially after post-corona, companies who used to talk to us as a tech box exercise with technology have
Yeah.
started to genuinely, start embracing technology.
Okay.
It's still early days. I would say the attachment rate for technology for especially from small to medium size enterprises is not more than 10, 15, 20% because they still find it easy to pick up the phone, have a conversation.
Correct.
But think about the new generation and the next generation that has come into running their businesses. Most of
Hmm.
the entrepreneurs and businessmen have, especially those who have their second generation come into the business. The third thing, it is also, increasingly becoming prohibitive for travel companies also to deploy more and more manpower in serving the customers because people cost in India is proportionately rising.
Yeah.
Your cost of brick mortar has substantially gone up, in the last 4 or 5 years. So the cost of doing travel businesses has also multiplied multifolds,
Yeah.
in comparison to previous days. So, in the interest of the wholesome ecosystem, obviously, adaptation of more technology is the way forward.
Way forward. And so role of an AI, because I have seen where countries like, of course, India is still gauging up, but I have seen people in UAE who talk to AI and configure all the information they want, and then I still feel that the human intervention is needed when it comes of booking the same plan, but the entire plan at a minute is planned through the help of voice note through AI, and it is sent to the travel agency business guy saying that I have got this. Can you better it, for me? So how does the competition survive? Like the in the because we are so exposed in terms of because of the technology rightly available to the client. How do you think that how should we plan ourselves and use AI to our benefit? Because there is I'm sure that there are both the worlds are available at one point of time. Negotiation is done through the help of AI to kind of showcase that this is what I've got. So how do you survive with these competition?
It's the similar kind of a question. Few years ago, let's say 20 years ago, OTAs were advent in the Indian market, and that's
Yeah.
when a lot of customers would ask you a question: Why do we buy from travel agency? Why don't we go to OTAs? So there was always a room. The market size was big enough, or there was enough customers for OTAs. There were enough customers for the travel company. It
Yeah.
depends on the kind of travel. It depends on
Mhm.
the purpose of the travel.
Yeah.
So clearly the OTAs were trying to solve for B2C, more like a
Mhm.
generic individual travel needs, not for business travel purpose. So
Okay.
business travel, still remains a little more complicated, still remains a little more, segregated and differentiated from general travel. Yeah. So if somebody has a very, very basic need, like buying a air ticket going Delhi to Bombay, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I would say 9.9 people out of 10 would end up buying online, and
Yes.
rightly so, they will never come to travel companies. Yeah.
Correct.
So travel agencies or travel entrepreneurs need to find a mode for themselves. How do you add value to those customers?
Mm.
Start
Correct.
reminding your customers why should they come to you? What is the value that you bring to the table? The
Mm.
biggest and the first value that you bring to your table is a human touch, is
Yeah.
somebody to fall back on, is
Correct.
somebody like you. I think somewhere in the conversation you mentioned, people are and were ready to pick up calls at 2:30 a.m. in the
Yes.
morning. Well, you try and call a AI operated call center versus you have a opportunity to pick up the phone and talk to your travel companies. Yeah, but look, this is a big imbalance. You also
Yes.
have to be conscious about your costs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think of a program. Don't think of start reminding your customer that you're not just buying air tickets from me. You are buying a program. You're coming back to me because I am giving you solution for I'm giving you human solution for
Mm.
all sorts of questions that come to your mind.
Mm.
Talk to me like a consultant. I am your doctor for travel. I am your
Yeah.
lawyer for travel. Yeah.
Correct.
You don't pop up pills and medicines by asking AI all the time, right? You go to your doctor
Correct.
after a while.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Or you don't go to the court to fill your challans or have your litigation, using AI. You
Yeah.
need so likewise, you need to go back to the consultants, and that's why I'm very strongly preaching the companies who will adapt hybrid proposition,
Mm.
use of technology to a certain extent, but also remain humanly available to your employees, will over a period of time have a bigger, better proposition of
Yeah.
customer satisfaction and customer approachability. Uh, I would also like to add.
Yeah.
Uh, when I say use of technology, now there are in one of the earlier questions we discussed that how we expect the travelers to use a lot of palm and avoid the
Mm.
back and forth, etc.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Now all of that can be done by technology, all of that can be done by AI, right? But a suggestion, this works with your persona. I think
Yeah.
with your past experience, the AI wouldn't remember whether you had this problem or that problem previously, or or you're allergic to an X meal or a Y meal or whatever. It's only a
Yeah.
human who could understand with conversations over a period of
Correct.
time, right?
Yes.
So you need to think,
Keep
where do you
evaluating.
have? Yeah.
Yes, that's something, because I always feel that giving value always pays back, and the personal touch, which probably because ideally, in my experience, people when they stuck because of technology, like how you said that they are stranded at the airport and they're trying to connect and not able to connect with the correct resource and waste a lot of time. But at that point of time, if just a call is being picked and resolved, then they'll remember for their life. There is an audience for everyone.
So at that moment, Sundar, you will pick up the phone, use your network, speak to
Yes,
somebody influential,
yes,
and what you can solve,
yes.
technology cannot
Correct.
solve that.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So, connected to that, what is that one advice or a valuable advice you want to give it to people who wants to enter into this corporate travel or start something on their own in the corporate travel setups?
I think one is patience. Two is smart enough, like I said in the previous conversation, adapt technology to automate your mundane work processes,
Yeah,
but keep a human touch alive, keep your customer contact alive, because beyond a certain period, your customers would also be sick and tired of talking to the computer and the robot. They would also like to have a human to human conversation. Yeah.
true,
So
true.
if you are able to create that balance and think of how you want to, at a reasonable cost base, broad base your business. And that is today only possible, when you create a hybrid environment. And, if you were to suddenly start deploying brick and mortar offices, at 10 different cities, sure enough, you will not make money in the first 5 to 8 years of your business.
Yeah.
You also need to create a business plan where, okay, this much of expense, this much of return, what should I do to make sure that the soonest possible I can get into the green,
Mm.
and for especially for corporate travel, there is a gestation, because when you go and talk to your customers, make a sales pitch, customers would negotiate. The same customer, bluntly, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
3 times more on the airline platform or on an OTA platform,
Yeah.
but would like to negotiate for 10 rupees because you have kind of made a sales pitch and approached that customer
Yeah.
and shown your hunger to get that business.
Yeah, when you walk to somebody's door, then the negotiation turns. We like
Yeah.
I keep on telling the community also that rather than going across, as you said, 10 offices and thinking big, first try to be best in your city. Wherever you are, because the perception of moving on from smaller cities, coming back to the metros, starting the business have gone. I feel the tier 2, tier 3 cities also have a lot of opportunities of corporate travel nowadays. And if big cities are, then the area is defined, where they can probably start with one area and then probably expand. Of course, you do it in a simple way all this while. And being a people's person, you love developing leaders under you. That's what, and I'm sure by hearing your conversation, a lot of leaders will be kind of, they will have the aspiration to become a leader after what you have shared your experiences. Yeah. So once again, thank you so much being giving your time to be part of this Travelpreneur world. And we're trying to do these conversations so that people get inspired, sir. Because I feel we need travel entrepreneurs in our circuit, young minds having the confidence to start something which is missing. So thank you so much, sir. Anything you want to just say to our audience before you leave?
Yeah, I first of all, Sundar, you are too kind. Your words are very kind. It's not like that. I think nobody is a born leader. Everybody learns on the way, and every day is a learning day. That's my philosophy. There is a learning opportunity in every conversation, and as long as you have the bent of mind to be able to adapt and learn, something good. In my opening sentence, I did mention that it's your choice. you
Yes.
can you can learn good things and try and have an attitude to solve for problems.
Yes.
If you are having an attitude to solve for problems, that should take you to miles ahead. You know.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sundar.